state-funded private college. Additionally, I had also carbon copied the U.S. Secretary of Education, Mr. Arne Duncan. And even though I did not necessarily have high expectations of getting a response, I nevertheless was very pleasantly surprised when I did finally receive a very personalized response indeed. This personalized response was received by me on May 12th of 2011 in a form of a letter addressed to me specifically from David A. Bergeron, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy Planning and Innovation of the Office of Post-Secondary Education at the U.S. Department of Education. In this letter, he had personally acknowledged that both Senator Durbin and Arne Duncan had received my communication, and then that they passed along my case to him so that as for him to communicate with me about my case. In Mr. Bergeron's letter, he then very specifically recounts some of the details of my case and wanted me to know that the U.S. Department of Education will also expect that WASC will take into account my experience in their upcoming review of SJVC for renewal of accreditation. So it was good to know at least that even though the U.S. Department of Education is now aware of my case and appears to be interested in continuing to follow the details of what transpires. And on that note, needless to say, I will of course be more than happy to work closely with the U.S. Department of Education to keep them more than adequately informed of my case. Additionally, based upon Mr. Bergeron's communication to me, I also will likewise have very high expectations that WASC will eventually hold SJVC accountable over this whole issue of quality of education, especially since from the very beginning, when I first signed up for SJVC, like many students, had relied so heavily on the WASC seal of approval that one could be assured to receive a high quality education. Because you see, all I was only originally wanting to do was to get a quality education so that I could be assured to be enabled all by myself to support my family, to pursue our dreams, and to earn a retirement all by myself. Go figure. After all, isn't that why most people go to college, and to improve their lives, to support themselves and their loved ones, and to earn a nice retirement? However, now that SJVC has so unilaterally decided on their own to intentionally, on purpose, prohibit me from even having access to the very education which I paid them for, and for which I still consequently now owe taxes payers for, and since in doing so that SJVC has so effectively thereby destroyed my chance to even have the ability now through respiratory therapy to support my family, to pursue our dreams, and to earn that nice retirement all by myself, like I had obviously been trying to do all along, by way of fairly, at least on my part, giving SJVC chance after chance after chance after chance, even clear up to February 14th of 2011, then I think it's only fair now, especially with all the tremendous emotional trauma and heartache that SJVC has put upon me and my family through and caused over this whole matter, that SJVC now should therefore have to be the ones who are made to pay dearly in order to accomplish two primary objectives of justice, with which I am now definitely seeking for in this case. Those objectives are, number one, to make sure now that SJVC assumes full responsibility for making sure that I can very well financially take care of my family, still fulfill all my family obligations and desires and goals, especially our previously mentioned desire and goal with our little girl, and finally, yes, even to be made to pay also now for a very nice retirement. Again, all of which I would have otherwise done all by myself, if only but for all of SJVC's absolutely heinous, illegal, unfair, oppressive, and manipulative and intentional business practices against me, which they intentionally perpetrated against me. And then number two, to make sure that all other private federally funded colleges get the message loud and clear that you don't treat students this way when they just have a complaint about the very quality of education that they paid for. And also that the private colleges certainly don't dare terminate a student just because that student simply had a complaint about the quality of the education, which again the school had promised to begin with, only just to protect the college's own selfish interests over the academic interests of the students. So then, that's the two main goals of justice for which I strongly believe in, and therefore absolutely will set out to accomplish. And in going forward to accomplish those goals, considering how that under the California Legal Remedies Act, that there is a provision whereby I can also bring action against SJVC, whereby SJVC will also have to pay all my legal fees anyway, once they're found guilty, which I personally have no doubt, but that they will be. Then I personally myself don't care a whit as to whether or not if SJVC wishes to drag this case out or not. Go ahead, because with all the undeniable and very well documented facts that I happen to have against SJVC in this case, many of facts which, by the way, I haven't even had the time herein to mention herein, then I'm extremely confident that SJVC is going to end up paying for it all anyway. For once any jury simply has the facts laid out for them in this case, then I'm extremely confident that no fair-minded juror in their right mind would ever consider any of SJVC's actions against me to be anything close to being professionally accepted measures of discipline, let alone as being legal in the eyes of the law. And that's just with considering all the present current facts in the case even before the deposition discovery phase begins. And then when I also consider how that during all the time while the case is being adjudicated within the court system, that I'll also have the opportunity of highlighting this case against SJVC in the media, and specifically within all the cities where SJVC campuses are located, then I can't help but to sincerely look forward now towards the opportunity of letting the truth be known of exactly how SJVC decided to rip me off from even having access to the very education that I paid for, all because I had just made a complaint about the very quality of education which they had promised. For you see, by virtue of how SJVC clearly went about disabling me now from being able to provide for my family in the way that I had originally wanted to do all by myself, then SJVC has really also left me with no other choice now but to make it my temporary little mission in life, to just seek justice against SJVC by making sure that they will now be the ones who provides for my family in a very, very nice way. So I'll now be soon presenting SJVC with my lawsuit, what it will be all about, and also to finally provide SJVC with their requested alternative money demand. However, in doing so, I'm absolutely confident that SJVC will very likely, based upon my history now with SJVC, stay true to form and do nothing but to humorously balk at such an alternative money demand. Why? Well, because while I'm not yet prepared to say exactly what the amount of my alternative demand will be, I can at least assure you that my alternative money demand will definitely be within the millions of dollars. So, thank you so much for listening, and I sincerely hope and pray that in going forward that I'll not only receive justice for my family, and I in this case, but that also, as a tremendous side benefit, that my case will eventually end up redounding very positively to the effect of strengthening the rights of many other students at federally funded private colleges, so as to help assure that also those students have a right to expect by having the right to fairly inspect the quality of education for which they were promised by that college and for which they paid dearly for. I hope you find this video to have been very instructive to you, and especially if you're even remotely considering SJVC as your college of choice, then I can only hope that all of the truth of which I have spoken herein will only